All right, welcome everybody to Horrible Horror, the podcast where we watch the worst of the worst in horror movies. Movies so bad they're scary. I'm your host, Marshall Hampton. With me to my left here is my co-host, Mr. Aaron Southworth. And joining us today on a very special interview segment here is the bearded wonder himself, the man, the myth, the writer, the director, the producer, and actor of Party Massacre, Mr. Drew Marvick. Drew, how are you doing this fine day?
Hello, I'm doing awesome. How are you guys?
We're great. Now that we had our little audio technical problems out of the way, I probably should have said that.
Yeah, no one else knew that except for us.
Nobody knew that, but oh well. I'm
what are you talking about?
Yeah, forget I said anything. So yes, you again. First off, thank you for taking the time out of your
really
schedule to join us.
Thank you.
Especially since you live in Vegas, the entertainment capital. You could be doing anything right now except sitting here with us two schmucks. So I mean, thank you. Normally we would talk about Party Massacre first, but we're going to mix things up today. Today we're going to lead up to Party Massacre. So we kind of want to start with just get to know you as a filmmaker, as a person. Starting off, what's your first memory of horror movies? What was the first horror movie you remember seeing that really kind of made an impact or implanted on your brain?
Well, my mom is a horror fan. Or especially was, not so much anymore. But so I felt like there were always horror movies being played in our house, not necessarily for me as a child to be watching, but probably my most vivid memory, or the one that stands out as being what helped shape me as a horror fan, was watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, 2? That's my favorite.
Yes, which is still one of my favorite movies ever made. But when it was a new release, I was visiting family in Ohio, in Cleveland, and we were staying with my mom's aunt, and her next door neighbor happened to have kids, and my mom's the type of mom that was like, look, there's a child that's a similar age as you need to be friends with them. So she knocked on the door, said, this is my son, you have children here, and kind of just pushed me into this stranger's house, and I ended up playing street hockey with them all day. And then they invited me for a sleepover, which would never happen now. But my mom said, sure, strangers, my son can stay at your house. So we piled in their station wagon, went to the local video store, and each kid, they had 4 kids, got to pick out a video. And the oldest brother picked Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And we all lay on the floor in their living room watching movies. And the last movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And right after they put it in and hit play, and it was getting through the trailers, I looked around and everyone else was asleep. Except me. So I was alone in a house I'd never been in before that day, with people I'd never seen before that day. And then the intro to part 2 comes on that bridge, and it scarred me for life.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense situation there. You're with a whole bunch of strangers. Everyone's asleep, and you're watching that. It's one of my favorites too. But that opening scene, he's got the dead body kind of bouncing back and forth, and dancing with it. I mean, it's pretty intense. I can imagine. How old were you when this happened?
I was probably 9.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Friday the 13th movies about 8, 9 or something like that, but bits and pieces. I remember my first memory was I think Friday the 13th. 3. It was kind of near the end. I had a babysitter over, and I was watching over her shoulder, and I remember it was the scene with Jason coming out of the barn, and then it was the end of the movie. And then get the whole van thing. It was the end, but that's one of my first memories.
Yeah, mine actually I think was Friday 13th Part 6. I think when the part that really stuck out of my mind were the people banging in the RV. I'm more of a pervert than I guess a horror fan. But yeah, that'd be mine.
Was that 6, or are we talking 5 here? We're talking about the demon, the black couple in the van.
No, it wasn't demon. It wasn't those enchiladas.
It wasn't demon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Anyway, so
you said your mom watched horror movies though.
Yes, that's interesting.
She did. I mean, she has all these stories of seeing Hitchcock movies in the theater and going to see horror movies in the 50s and 60s, and then even as I got a little older than 9 and 10. And we would watch movies a lot together. She would introduce me to movies. She's a big fan of movies, but I think she also just likes having them. So we had a double VCR setup, and so she would rent movies and dub them.
Yes.
And so we had a gigantic wall unit full of VHS tapes with 3 or 4 movies on each tape. So she would go to the video store every Tuesday and rent 5 movies and then spend the week recording them, and then we could watch them whenever we wanted.
My family,
and so,
yeah, we did the same thing.
Yeah, I miss those days, man. There was something nice, like some nostalgic, I guess, about just having that wall of VHS with like multiple. He had like what, slow play, super long play, and like
right.
Yeah,
I remember all those. So are you just saying you were visiting family, and like are you from the Midwest originally and then moved out to Vegas for, I guess, to pursue this, or were you just how'd you?
No, my mom's from Ohio. She's from the Midwest. So, but I was born and raised in Southern California.
Okay.
And then moved out to Vegas to go to college, and then here I am.
Man, again, I can't imagine going to college in Vegas. There's so many distractions, so many party opportunities there. How'd you make it through that?
It's funny. There's plenty. I mean, obviously, everyone knows about Vegas and Sin City, and there's a lot to do. But when you're 18 or 19, there isn't that much to do. It's actually kind of a void because you're not old enough to be in the casinos. You're not old enough to gamble or drink, and it's kind of a commuter school. There isn't really like a campus life because a lot of the students work on the Strip. A lot of them are 21 and they have jobs, and so it was a weird time. It's the only school I went to, so it's the only thing I know. My basis of comparison is visiting friends at like much cooler schools around the world. But I mean, I just spent a lot of time watching movies and drinking beer, drinking like Pete's Wicked Ale in my apartment by myself and watching horror movies. So I think that's what's
sound that bad. I can be honest.
No, I mean, I would love to do that now.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling here. Was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was the first one that you said you remember seeing that really implanted you? But what movie was it, if it wasn't that one, that made you decide, hey, this is something I want to pursue. I want to make my own movies. What kind of I'm going for it.
Opened the door for indie filmmaking? Was it just the college, or when you went to school, were you like, I want to do this, or what kind of sparked it?
I wish so many other filmmakers have these really fun stories of like a trip to the theater that inspired them in this one particular movie, and then they can, that was the catalyst. I don't really have that. I always was fascinated by movies. I wanted to make movies. We had a giant camcorder that I would like make home movies on with my action figures, and I would recruit the neighbors' kids and make just ridiculous short films.
Yeah. I kind of did that.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I'm sure most of us that are cinephiles now did that. So I did all those things, and even in high school, I went to night school to learn how to edit. I went to video, television production classes, but I still didn't think it was a career. It was comical now because I was an hour away from LA in Orange County, California, but I felt like I was too far away from Hollywood to ever actually work in Hollywood, which is what people on the East Coast and Midwest say they feel. But even me, I felt the same way. So I didn't think it was a career. So I just did it for fun, and I wanted to make things with my friends, and then I wanted to make skate videos in high school, so that's why I was taking the classes. But it didn't become a reality until much later. After college, I was managing nightclubs on the Strip and just really wanted to get back into it, and that's when I did. I mean, it's been 15 years now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, good run.
Yeah,
pretty good run.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. I mean, my wife still jokes with me that when I left my job, we both were in the nightclub business, and we decided to get real jobs. Like, let's get real jobs and start a family. This crazy hours is the unpredictability of this business, So she has an accounting degree. She got a really good job as an accountant. And then I said, well, I'm just going to work in film for like a summer, and then I'll get a real job. And that was 15 years ago. And I still haven't gotten a real job. And so every now and then she says, are you going to get that? When's that real job going to happen?
Is she still an accountant?
She's still an accountant. Yes.
Okay.
She has been like growing her career and doing really well. And I'm still, like occasionally selling my toys on eBay to pay for a short film.
Well, that actually kind of leads to my next question, because I kind of I'm fascinated by the indie scene, because it's so, it's so much do-it-yourself.
There's so much more fun, I think.
Such a do-it-yourself labor of love, if you will. So tell us about the indie filmmaking process. Like, you're talking about raising money. Like, how do you go about raising the money, getting the equipment, finding your crew and the casting of that? What does it all entail to make a movie like, let's Party Massacre or something else you've done?
Yeah, because you had some pseudo names. You had Alexis Davis, which I had to do a lot of research on. Enjoyed that. And also Leanna Vamp, who, they're kind of...
I have questions about them later.
Smaller, they actually have names, so it's
Yeah.
really interesting to get them, because most of the time you see the indie films, and it's either friends or people who are just looking for work,
Of course, and that's kind of how, other projects I've done do fall more into that category. And I think as far as prep goes, it depends on the project. I'm fortunate enough that, like I said, I've worked in this business for 15 years now. I work as a commercial producer, so that's what I actually pay the bills with. Making indie horror movies doesn't pay any bills at all. So having done it for so long, I already know all these people. These are people that I hire and work with on a regular basis. So when it comes time to make something for me that I want to do that's fun, I can reach out to extremely talented people that I call my friends and bring them in. And, in a way, I also, I give them work on a somewhat regular basis too. So they're probably, more likely to help me out than one of their other friends that doesn't. So because there's a pretty good chance I'm going to call them in a couple weeks and with a paying gig too. So for me, it was a different situation as far as getting the crew. That was the easy part. Talent, on the other hand, I just had to, still use the resources that I had, but use my friends. And I was lucky enough that Leanna Vamp is a friend of mine. I had cast her in a project a couple years ago, and we've been friends. So that was the same as if I had asked any of my friends. I called her and said, "Hey, can I kill you and your husband? Can I kill you and Cameron in my movie, please? I'll pay for your."
They were married.
Yes, they are. Yes, you guys were right. They are definitely married.
Lucky bastard.
And so,
well, hey, I'm married too, so.
Yeah. But yeah, with them, I just flew them out and they stayed at my house, and we, I had a day. They found a day in their schedule and came out. We shot that scene. I know you mentioned in the podcast the whole movie is not at my house.
Okay.
When I thank my wife for letting us destroy our house, it's because the end, like third act in the bedroom with all the blood on the carpet and the bed, that's my bedroom. Where we did the most damage. And then also that pool in the beginning where Leanna is my backyard. So we just shot all those scenes at my house.
Gotcha. But yeah, explain then more about like you said, now you've been doing it for 15 years, you kind of have the process down. But when you made your first movie, I'm going to make my first movie, my first film, how did you go about getting the money and the equipment, and how do you pursue all that? Tell me more about how to make an indie movie from the very beginning.
I still actually haven't gone through the process of trying to find money. Like my first short film, I want to say we clocked in at about $73 total spent. And it's gone up a little bit from there. But even Pool Party Massacre, I decided not to raise money. I just to use what I had, which is why the budget was only $6,000, because that's all I could manage to scrape up between my savings and my children's piggy banks. and my partner Brian, who shot and edited the movie with me, he contributed as well. So between the two of us, just pulling from what we had, that's how we did it. But for the most part, you just kind of assemble you just use your resources. Some people will put ads on Craigslist or use Facebook to find crew or to find cast, and then Lord only knows there's a bunch of crowdfunding options to raise money. I just didn't want to do that for a couple reasons. Part of it is like with Pool Party, it was my first feature. I didn't know how bad it would be, and I didn't want to be on the hook. I didn't want anyone else to be responsible for it or to feel, I'd feel guilty. I probably still feel guilty even now. So I just thought it'd be better to make it. And actually, honestly, the original plan for the movie, I wanted to make it for $11. Like that was the plan. I don't know. It's like an arbitrary number. I don't even know where it came from on the day that I declared it. But I declared to Brian that I asked him if he would shoot it, and then I said, I'm going to make it for $11. And I explained to him how I could do that by calling in favors and casting only friends. Like you were just saying, like casting my friends. My wife could put on various wigs and play multiple roles, and we're going to make a movie for $11. You're going to see, Brian. And then we decided to hold auditions to fill some of the roles, and I asked Brian to print scripts so that people would have a script when they got there. And he walked into the studio. We did auditions. He set down the FedEx Kinko's bag and handed me the receipt for $73 for all the printing. And I went, oh, crap. Way over our $11 budget.
Yeah, man, printing at Kinko's in Office Max place is not cheap. I've had to do it myself for for plays I've had to direct. Just copy scripts. But, man, on a side note, though, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. We're going to step away from the movies just for a second. We got to talk about this marvelous beard of yours. How long did it take you to grow that thing? And how does your wife respond? Does she like that?
Well, it's probably a little over a year, like, to grow it. I've had this for, I think it's going on 7 years now. Wow. And I've had the beard for about 10. When I first started growing it, I would grow it for a year, and my wife hated it, and still does, coincidentally. So I shaved it off for it was about this long. I shaved it off for Valentine's Day. It was like the best gift I could give her, and it was free. So I did that for, I think it was about 3 or 4 years. I would grow the day after Valentine's. It would start growing, and then I would shave it for Valentine's. And then about 7 years ago, I got booked on a TV show. I was on a Sci-Fi Network TV show for a season, and I couldn't shave because it was middle of shooting the show. And then afterwards, we had like a soft green light for a second season. So they said, make sure you don't shave. And then it went on. So now suddenly Valentine's came and went, and that like broke the seal. So now I've just kept it despite the fact that my wife hates it. And now there's always a reason. Like now there's Pool Party Massacre 2. Right. So I can't shave it. Or there's another film or other projects that other people have cast me in. So,
well, you just said something very exciting that I heard, that apparently there is going to be a Pool Party Massacre 2. So
there is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Blaine's back, huh?
Yes, I shouldn't say definitely, because I could die tomorrow. But there are plans. I'm in the middle of writing the script. It's fully outlined, and I've got a bunch of people that are excited to be a part of it. So
that's
awesome.
That's fantastic. I mean, we run our Instagram, and I kind of check that out, and I noticed a lot of people, like when movie first came out, a lot of our followers, a lot of horror people, are always posting Pool Party Massacre, it's awesome. Pool Party Massacre, it's awesome. So we just kind of talked about it. Like, I guess we got to check it out. And but it had a lot of buzz when it first came out. It was pretty impressive.
It did. It was mind-boggling, to be honest. I mean, I didn't know. I've been doing everything myself, completely 100% self-distributed. And all of it, I manage the web store. I pack every single order and put every postage on it. I mean, I'm the one, I got it on Amazon and iTunes, and I mean, with the help of Brian, since he's more on the technical side, so he helped with those things. But pretty much everything else is me. So I didn't know how it would work. I launched the store, and I manage all the social media myself. Mm-hmm. So, when I launched it, I half expected to be sitting. I had this vision of me sitting on my computer, like waiting for the first sale, and it just never happening. But luckily, it did. I think it was a combination of just the name. People knew what they were going to get.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I kept the title that. And then also the amazing, like, key art from Mark Schoenbach is really what did that.
It's great.
The poster is great.
Yeah, it's really good. I love the eyeballs and the Mai Tai glass or whatever. Yeah. That tropical drink, it's fantastic. It's really good.
So you say you kept the title. Was there at one point a different title you were thinking about for the movie?
I never had another title, but in the beginning I kept referring to it as Pool Party Massacre, or I'll get a better name later. Like that seemed to be the way I would describe it to people when talking to potential cast members. I would say, well, right now it's called Pool Party Massacre until I find a better name, and then.
Well,
it just never did.
I'm glad you never strived for greatness on that one. I love the name. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect.
I love it. Yeah, because it's you know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's why I kept it that way. It got to a point where I said, you know what, I would know exactly what I was getting if I picked up a copy of Pool Party Massacre, and I want other people to know what they're getting into. And there's a certain group of people like myself that want to watch a movie called Pool Party Massacre. I mean, I seek those movies out. So I thought, and it'll probably appeal to those people since I'm the one that's making it and that's where I come from. So it only made sense to keep it that way. And plus, I felt like no one could be mad at me for some of the things that they are actually mad at me for. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, who in their right mind could watch a $6,000 movie called Pool Party Massacre and then tell me that the writing is subpar or that the acting is subpar? Right. I mean, come on, you know exactly what you're getting. So, but unfortunately, I still daily get called out on those things.
So people start throwing shade on you, huh? That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's expected.
Speaking of that, again, you talked about, you were friends with Leanne Vance. That was one of my questions, how you got her involved. But if we go through the casting process, how do you go about getting Alexis Adams? Like, you get a porn actress in a movie that, is basically everybody else is all relatively new
Well, I'm guessing these are people you worked with before, like you said earlier.
Yes, exactly. So we held auditions, and I think pretty much everyone that came in, minus a couple people that were friends that weren't actors. I think there's only two people in the movie. Chet the pizza guy is just a good friend of mine who owns a video store, so I had to get him in. Nice. But everyone else is a local actor here in Vegas, and a lot of them I've worked with on commercial projects and booked them on other things. So I knew to reach out to them. And then with Alexis, it was just kind of luck. I knew I wanted to be, somewhat sensitive when casting that role because I knew that of the nudity and the implied sex even. But so there were a lot of people I had in mind that I would love to have cast that I knew wouldn't do it, that are local actresses. And so I knew I needed a certain person, but I also needed someone that fit those characters, being like a Paris Hilton type socialite. And so a lot of the people that I knew that are actors and actresses that would have done that role are covered in tattoos. Right. And it just wouldn't have worked. I mean, if you had one character with them that walked in the door with full sleeves and pink hair and big stretched ears, she would stand out and it wouldn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then everyone would say, oh, now I get it. It's because she's the one that got naked. So I wanted someone to fit that look. And our makeup artist knew Alexis. She had done her makeup before.
Oh,
so okay. Luckily, our makeup artist, Katie Jacobs, said, you know what? There is a girl that I know that I can reach out to for you. You might have heard of her. And I hadn't heard of her, but I quickly Googled her and I got to know her really well instantly. And she was great. I mean, her look, she's beautiful, but she looks like a girl next door kind of.
Yeah.
She's really sweet and innocent looking, but can play bitchy too. She did that really well. And she's not covered in tattoos. And according to the internet, she has an amazing rack. which is a good thing too. So that really was just through a friend of a friend. Our makeup artist called her that, sent her a text. Sent her a text that day, and she was excited to do a straight acting role too. It was funny because I was nervous when she came in for her audition. I was kind of nervous because she does have a big fan base and has done a lot of work. And so I'm like, I really hope we, at that point I decided it had to be her, but I didn't lead on to that. And then she came in and was nervous because she'd never done an audition like this before or been in a real movie.
Right.
So it worked out well. We were both happy that the other was a part of it. So
that's great. With that, I think Aaron, do you have more for?
Well, I gotta say, she did she did a good job being bitchy. I think they all did,
well,
honestly.
I meant more about Pool Party Massacre, not so much Alexis Adams.
No, but I'm just kind of segueing into Pool Party Massacre. I mean, when the girls were horrible. You wanted to see them all die.
Oh, they were. They're awful people.
Of course, Nancy, she was the sweetheart. She's the one that But man, you knocked it out of the park with those gals, because I hated them all.
Yeah, and that's good to hear, because that was the plan. I mean, some people probably think that wasn't, but it was from the beginning. Like I wanted them to be unlikable. I wanted you to not care about them for a couple reasons. One, I wanted people to wish them dead. Like I wanted people to be excited about their death, which I think that part was yeah, that part was achieved. But I also wanted in the end, I knew where the movie was going, and so I wanted in the end for the killer to become the most liked character. In my, that was my plan. I don't know if it works for everyone, but my goal in setting all that up was to hopefully you would end up liking the killer.
For us, again, it totally worked because we loved, like I said, we raved about the ending on the show, and I loved, I mean,
the last 20
Blaine,
minutes or so.
I always want to say Blair because Blair and Blaine, but yeah, Blaine was awesome. Love to see more of him, and the interaction with him and Blair at the end was just absolutely wonderful bit of writing. And
because it was a lot of fun because watching the movie, it's like, okay, here's the kill, and there's stuff that's working, there's stuff that's kind of okay. I'm on board, but I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? And then when you had the reveal, when she's just like, what the hell, Blaine? And, the body falls off the door onto her, and they start having this bicker back and forth between, like, from a brother and sister standpoint. And that was probably some of the best acting at that time. Your guys' chemistry was really good. It seemed like you were a brother-sister, like, you're just waiting to give her an Indian burn or something, You guys just seemed to be picking on each other. And that's when the movie, like, really took off, and I was like, yes, it was a good, like, reveal or swerve. I really enjoyed that.
I didn't see it coming. I didn't see that twist coming. So it was great. So yeah, you nailed it there with making Blaine the most likable character, at least in our opinion.
Yeah, because I like a guy who has a wife and kid, but all of a sudden he takes a passion in murder.
We're all so close to that.
Just takes a couple bad days,
Yeah.
Speaking of like that final scene, now maybe you can clarify something for me. Maybe I shouldn't have pointed it out, but I did. Can you explain to me what I refer to as the magic bed in the episode?
Oh yes, of course. So it's not intended to be the same bed or the same room. So there's the room that's upstairs where they were killed in, and where Troy and Tiffany were killed.
Yes.
And then Blaine brought the bodies downstairs into the master bedroom, put her headless torso in the bed, and set her head on the bed as well. So when Nancy later runs in and opens the door, their bodies aren't in there. It's a quick flash, but it's just blood all over the bed, and the bed's messed up. So because I knew that you had said, I think maybe the bodies were actually still in there, which would have been extremely confusing if they were. But no, and I think part of that might be the sheets are, the whole bedroom set is like a leopard print, and everything is skin toned. And so it was a big lump of sheets and blankets. But now that I think about it in hindsight, they're kind of a leopard print skin, flesh colored bedding set covered in blood. So that's funny. That could actually look like.
All right. Well, then thank you for explaining for that, because I also thought that she was still handcuffed to the bed. Like they just magically moved the whole bed down there. But
and she was. I did end up like cuffing her.
Okay, so I'm not insane there.
I was right to that bed. No, and there was a little more in the script that talked about that there, where Blair, there was a couple more lines where Blair implied that he was like, when she even says like, "Are you doing stuff to my dead friends?" And no, there was a couple more lines implying, that he still was.
I kind of got it. Every marriage has problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Great line. Great line.
So that was why I took the time to handcuff her, but also the torso itself was the mold was done because we knew that she was cuffed to the bed. So it's a full body cast of Alexis and a head cast. Is that
it behind you there?
Oh yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, yeah. There's two versions of it. So it's like from just below her thighs, like a little bit of just below her thighs up to her hands. But so the cast was done with her arms in that position. So no matter what I did with it, when I brought it into the bedroom for the reveal, the arms would be up. So the only realistic thing for me to do was either lay it flat and hide where all the seams were, or put it back in a bed and recuff it and try to work with that in the script. So,
gotcha.
So we did, and it's been, you're not the only people. Other people have wondered, like, wait, was she still up there, or where did she go, or things like that. I
guess the other wonder, and I think you've mentioned this on our Instagram or Facebook. So when Jasmine got killed with the gas-powered weed whacker,
loved it,
tore it apart. we kind of panned towards the drain, and I just couldn't. It looked like it was an intentional pan to look at this.
Oh yeah, the drain.
This gruesome display of. I couldn't tell what it was.
The tampon. Which
You
we
were
thought
thinking
was
the
the
tampon,
and
but-
then maybe eyeballs or something. I don't know. But yeah.
I wish there was a tampon in there. Because I would love to be able to say, like, once you said, like, hey, you know, like the weed whacker to the bush so hard that her tampon fell out. I'm like, that's brilliant. Like, I wish I would have thought of that. I think what
Feel
looked
free
like
to
a
use that
Well,
next
you know,
time.
I am available for consulting on your next film.
I think what resembled a tampon was there were a couple severed fingers that I had gotten from our effects guy that I just willy-nilly tossed into there at the end. So it was a combination of, there was a severed ear, there's some fingers, bunch of clumps of hair, blood and water, and then chunks. I had no idea what it would really look like if somebody was weed whacked
Sure.
Yeah.
death in the shower. And frankly, a lot of people like to argue that there's no way to kill someone with a weed whacker. That's been a common argument. But I beg to differ. I feel like if you cut an artery or something, you'd eventually
Depends
you
on
hold
the
it
weed
against,
whacker.
you hold it against someone long enough, I guess eventually they're gonna die. But that time could be like 3 hours. I'm not sure. But
I
so
don't
I
care.
just
That was my favorite kill. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear because I loved it. And that shot, so it was just supposed to be some remains, the chunks that would have flown off of her as she was fighting the weed whacker is really all it was supposed to be. So there was some hair and bits, and then mushed up strawberries because I had them in my fridge, and they kind of looked like flesh.
It worked.
Man.
Yeah, and the shot itself, it wasn't a big reveal, but I just felt like we needed. I shot that during post. I just felt like it needed a better segue from. So I thought, well, let's just get a shot of the drain. So
a little cherry on top, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that bathroom I have access to because it's my then 5-year-old daughter's shower that whole thing happened in. So yeah, and there's still blood on her ceiling, which she likes to bring up at the most inopportune times. Like when a parent is picking up their child from a play date, she'll say, "Dad, I didn't even tell her that there was blood on the ceiling." I'm like, oh. So we went in and shot that real quick. And in my head also, it was kind of like the shower drain shot in Psycho. It was just, I need that. And I'm like, we just need that shot. But I can't do that shot because that would just be blatant rip-off. So I'm like, I'll do that shot, but I'll shove a bunch of crap in the drain and fill it with blood and make it gross because this movie is gross.
Perfect. Yeah, I liked it. So another thing I had a question about, the lady next door, what language is she speaking?
So, I mean, there's a whole story with that too, but she is, well, geez, now I'm second guessing what actual language it is, but she's from Belgium.
Okay.
But I believe there was even discussion on set of how there are different dialects in Belgium that are spoken. But that character, she was not in the original script, Dora, the crazy neighbor. We were finished shooting. We had like 1 or 2 days left of shooting, pickup shots left. So the whole movie was pretty much shot. And I was a producer for a Belgian TV show that was in Las Vegas filming. They were here for like 3 weeks. I was their local producer. And while they're prepping, the show is called 50 Ways to Kill Your Mom is the name of the show.
Okay.
And I believe it was a very successful show in the UK. And
sounds pretty awesome.
This is like and basically it's a celebrity. It's a great title.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but that really struck me for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up. That's so crazy.
You definitely should. But it's a show where like the original one in the UK was a celebrity there, and he took his mom and made her do these crazy things. It was a reality show. And so this is some kind of a licensed Belgian version of that. So they have a Belgian celebrity and his like 72-year-old mom who's never left the country, and he takes her around the world and makes her jump out of airplanes and makes her do all these crazy things. So the show hasn't even aired yet. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but nobody's told me that I can't. So, but I'm not in Belgium. So
there you go.
All right, Belgium viewers, you heard it here first.
Yeah. Keep it quiet.
Yes. But basically, I was helping them put together all of the locations and all the scenarios and find everything they needed to shoot a Vegas episode. And somehow when we were doing that, they must have been on my Facebook or something. I don't even know how, but they said, "Hey, we just saw. Are you making a horror movie?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm directing a horror movie. We're done shooting. It won't conflict with our schedule." They're like, "No. We actually want to know if you could kill his mom in your movie. And we'll film it, an episode of the reality show. She gets to be in a real American horror movie, but also we get a amazing like money shot of her actually getting killed.
That's great.
Which is so meta and cool. So I had to quickly.
Synergy.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was a crazy opportunity. So I had to, a couple days to make up a scene where I can add an old lady that didn't speak English into the movie and kill her and put it all together. And it had to be on, like, hey, it's on Thursday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like, because they already had a shooting schedule, so it had to fit into that block. And so I, quickly wrote that scene and got a couple props. Picked up that creepy doll at the thrift store and just kind of made that up as I went along. And then it ended up being in my opinion, I think it's a great scene. Especially,
hey, she chewed the scenery, man. She was great.
Yeah,
you could see her frustration. I mean, I couldn't understand a word she was saying, but she looked pissed.
Yeah, and she might have been. I wouldn't know. I don't know. Right. And I'm still dying to see supposedly the TV show's going to air in April in Belgium. I just spoke with them recently. They needed some more footage. They actually ended up putting some scenes from the movie in now that it got delayed. So, because it's supposed to air 2 years ago, before we even released the movie. But so I'm dying to see because they did a whole thing where they surprised her and, she walked into that house and then suddenly there was cameras everywhere and a severed head on the table, and she was going to be in a movie, and we were putting taping tubes to her head, and she had no idea what was going on. So yeah, that's the story of Dora.
Awesome.
I did like that. All right.
Speaking of just stories from this, like, what else? I'd love to hear I always like to hear some behind the scenes stories of the actual filming process. Like, did anything funny or crazy or just unintentional,
unexpected?
Yeah, unexpected. Yeah. Thank you. That's just stuff that happens during the filmmaking process. What some of the things that stick out in your mind that happen along the way?
Well, I mean, luckily we didn't have anything major happen, thank God. But and then we had all the usual things like scheduling conflicts and my DP moving from Vegas to Orlando while we were shooting, my lead moving from Vegas to LA while we were shooting. Wow. We had a Crystal, the blonde in the pink bikini, got a boob job while we were shooting. that was one of the more interesting ones. Fortunately, it was towards the beginning, and she had mentioned even in her audition, she said, "Oh well, if you're shooting at that time, I'm having surgery. I'm having cosmetic surgery." And I thought, "Oh, okay," but she probably has like a deviated septum or something. I don't know. She looks great to me. I don't know maybe a mole removed. And so I didn't think anything of it until the day we were on set shooting them. I believe it was coming into the house. She said, "Hey, just so you know, tomorrow is the day I get my boob job." And I said, "What? Where? What? Huh?" And so I think I've never even been able to really find it. I don't know if when finally through the edit that we were able to hide it, but there has to be at least one shot in there before the boob job of Crystal somewhere, and I've been waiting for somebody to point it out.
Well, hey, I'm looking.
Yeah, we'll go stare at some boobs and try to look at that.
Yeah,
look that up for you.
We didn't find it. Yeah,
there's some compliments on her new boobs, so she'll be extremely happy to hear those too.
I know I complimented on them at one point during the show.
Yeah, the doctor did a great job.
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the most dramatic, or at least comical. I mean, we were supposed to shoot the movie in the summer, which would make sense. It's called Party Massacre. Sure. But unfortunately, once the budget jumped from $11 to what it ended up being, I started taking things a little more seriously. I started getting props, rewriting the script a little bit, and put more effort into casting. Instead of having my wife wear wigs and play every role, we actually started doing the casting. So it got delayed enough that we didn't start shooting till Black Friday. We started shooting the day after Thanksgiving in 2015, which is cold. I mean, we're now in that time. We're in winter here in Vegas now, and it was 30 degrees this morning when I walked out to my car. So there were plenty of those scenes that you're seeing in the backyard where they're sitting on that sofa, not getting in the water. It's because it was 33 degrees and the water was about 38 degrees, 40 degrees.
Wow. So
there was no way.
So Clay was jumping in there in freezing water.
Yeah. So that like awkward flip that he does was into like 39-degree water. And you can almost hear like the air get sucked out of him when he comes up the first time because it was so cold. But he was willing to do it. He's a good friend of mine, and he said, I'll do it. I'll do anything. He's the kind of person to do anything for a laugh. So he was down, but no one else could. And then we luckily, shooting ran longer than we thought. So we started in November. We actually finished principal photography in June, which we didn't expect to go that long. So it gave us the opportunity to shoot him swimming up. So when he jumps in the water, it's 38 degrees, but then when he swims up and twirls his bottoms, it's like 100 degrees outside in the pool. Nice and warm, and they were 6 months apart.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, that's right, because Nancy eventually gets into the pool, too, at the end. She got in.
And that was in June. Like, it was one of the last shooting days. Finally, I was like, all right, is it finally warm enough for you to go in the water? Please say yes.
Now, this might seem like a silly thing, but if it's that cold and they're sitting out, did you have any issues with, or have to, like, I guess, Photoshop out, like, the breath, like cold breath of people exhaling in that cold of weather?
We never really did, and maybe that's something to do with the dry climate here or something, but that was never an issue.
Okay.
And usually we had to wait for the sun to get high enough anyway, so at least it would warm up. I mean, some of those mornings it was probably 30 degrees. There was a day it was supposed to snow. It's on the blue, in the like making of, there's a line where I'm just filming myself because it's raining. And I'm like, well, I guess we have to stop shooting. It's raining and it's supposed to snow any minute. And it was genuinely, the forecast was like, Vegas is going to get the first snow of the year today. I'm like, cool, we're supposed to be shooting
a pool party.
Pool party.
So I mean, that caused, a lot of, it was made it a comedy of errors as people would arrive and would check the thermometer. And we had a giant heater, like patio heaters all over out of frame. Piles of blankets and Snuggies. The second I would yell cut. Yeah, the second I would yell cut, it was like Snuggies on everyone. Turn the heater back on. Let's repo the camera. And then, all right, heater off. Snuggies out. Like, think warm thoughts. We're going again.
So, talking about like the budget stuff, I'm assuming since you didn't film most of that house turned out not to be yours. So, do you go through is there like an agency you find to rent these places out for filming, or how do you go about finding that location?
Yeah, great house.
The house is amazing. It's normally you would I use the Nevada Film Office. They have a great location directory, and they're a tremendous amount of help. So they have great resources, tons of houses in Vegas for filming. That particular house was super easy for me to find because it's my parents' house.
Oh.
So, yes. So I just called them and said, hey, I'm going to make a movie. Can I please shoot it here? And they said, I think so. And I said, okay, good, because Brian will be here in 15 minutes for a location. So, and I've shot in their house so many times for commercials and short films and 48-hour film festival. And they have a great house. And so, and it's way better than my house. so I've used it a lot. So, and I actually wrote the script with that in mind, knowing I had $11 at the time. And so I wrote the entire thing with that house in mind. So, I knew the shots. I knew this. So,
did you have a backup plan though? If they would have said no.
No, then I would have shot it every time they went out of town. I would have just done that.
She's getting groceries, guys. Let's go.
Let's go. We got 10 minutes. She'll be back. Oh, that's great.
So, it's a family affair, really. Your wife's in it, too. You get to kill your wife, which is pretty funny. I do like it's a little tongue-in-cheek saying, oh, Drew, he's always collecting toys, and I see this great collection you have behind you. So, does she not like the toy collection?
It's funny. She doesn't mind it at all, actually. She doesn't get it. She has no interest in toys. She has a couple in her desk at work because I buy them for her occasionally. But it isn't really like a dig necessarily. It was just a kind of a, like you were saying, a little inside joke for the people that do know us. And I live in like a self-deprecating world. So it just was instinct for me to write insults for myself. But then I did throw in the little the dick pic at the end.
Which Aaron, yes,
build myself up.
Because if that's all you, man.
Yeah.
Bravo.
No, I wish. I wish it was, and I actually have no idea. I have no clue who it is. And whoever it is, hopefully they don't watch the movie and see some way they can identify themselves to me, because that was just taken from Google. So when the whole cast, we were all sitting on the couch one day because it was raining, and I mentioned that I needed a really impressive dick pic for this one insert shot, and then suddenly it became this game where every person on the cast was, how about this one? Oh no, not that. How about this one? No, this one. And then finally we
who found the winning one?
Oh, I think it actually might have been me.
Oh. All right.
But there were so many options floating around that I'm almost positive it was me. And it was hilarious because I just typed into Google dick pic, and that was it, and hit search, and the entire first page was just photos of Dick Cheney. Like not a single like phallic image at all.
So weird.
That is incredibly weird.
I could type in Dick Cheney and probably get dick pics.
Yeah.
I type in dick pic and I don't get a single dick pic. Like I don't understand. Like,
That's
girls
insane.
can't even turn their phones on without getting a dick pic.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And you mentioned it being a family affair, and it 100% was. I mean, not only was my wife in it, and we shot at my parents' house and my house, but and my dog Darla is the dog. But my son, like, it's my actual family photo, like the family photo. I just photoshopped the Blair and Blaine's parents' heads over my actual parents' heads in that photo that actually hangs in my parents' house. And then but even to the point where my son had to double, like in the opening shot, I think as you guys were talking about the blood, how like 1 minute it's so watery, and then in the next shot in the hand it's like jelly coming off of her hand. So that shot, it was freezing cold, and the blood kept freezing, so we had to keep adding hot water to the canister. And by the time we got the shot we wanted, we had added so much hot water to unfreeze the blood that it was watery as all hell. But it actually flowed, and we only had one kind of real shot at it. So
Right.
So we still used it, and I figured people, would be more forgiving because it was running down Leanna Vamp's chest. So figured that.
Yeah, I mean makes it a little better to deal with.
Exactly. Yes. So, but then fast forward, the shot of the blood on the hand is not even Leanna Vamp. We didn't have time to shoot that. So that's actually a combination of, it's my wife's hand when it's a close up, and the blood again was freezing.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked the way that it was dripping,
Yeah,
so I left. And then when we jumped to the wide, and the killer's walking out of the gate, and you just see the hand, that's actually my son's hand, like hanging there. So it 100% was. I mean, there's photos where you can see both my kids on set constantly, and they would always beg to be able to spray the blood sprayer whenever there's any kind of. So I would let them take turns. So there's shots where there's blood flowing, and it was my 5-year-old daughter was like, "How many? Dad, I can't pump it 5 times." I'm like, "Oh, here, there you go." And then, spray the blood. Okay, so
that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it was cool, and it's what I do, so it's normal to them. I mean, they understand. Like, they weren't there when there was nudity. They weren't there when certain things were happening. Of course, I mean, I don't even let them watch horror movies. Like, I'm a much stricter parent than people would think when they looked at me. But at the same time, they see the humor in it, and they know that it's not real. And I think that there's an advantage to that, in a way, that they know these things that they see in movies and TV aren't real, and they look at it and say, "Oh, I know how that works." Unfortunately, they're watching like giant movies.
Yeah.
And they're watching the new Jumanji, and they're like, "I know how that works. The director went to Lowe's and bought a garden sprayer." And I'm like, "Well, no, not exactly." But yeah, so there's definitely a family affair.
Did your parents forgive you for drilling a hole in their bathroom wall?
So that was funny because they were out of town when I shot that. So they had no idea until they watched the movie. But and that was their question. My dad went to the wall to see if he could tell where the hole was. But I actually built a stunt wall. I bought drywall, painted it, built a stunt wall. So I didn't actually drill a hole in their wall. I did cover the inside of that bathroom with blood, though, as the drill was going through clay. And for whatever reason, that batch of blood, because we had various batches from various different people and favors from different effects artists, and one I had left over from Halloween's past. So I don't know which, they all got mixed together, but the blood that was in that bathroom for some reason would not come off the wall. It would physically wipe off, but you could see the stain. So I repainted the entire bathroom before my parents got home. And now it's coming through again.
Oh,
I was just at their house a week ago. This, almost 2 years later, and it's somehow seeping through the paint. You can see. It's
become like a real haunted house. The walls bleed.
the walls are bleeding. So and they're very forgiving of all those things, though. I don't know, I'm their only son, so maybe that helps. But yeah, they're really forgiving, and they were happy to help. There were things that upset them, and we took over the house for 6 months.
Yeah.
And they still find little things, like also in the bedroom when Alexis' character gets the axe, there is one big splash of blood that hits the nightstand where her bikini is. We didn't have much time to do that. It was a quick, let's grab this at the end of the day. So I didn't put plastic underneath it, and I didn't realize how much went behind it. And a year later, my dad pulled the nightstand out to move to find something, and it was just a solid dry blood all down the wall and pooled on the molding on the baseboard. So I did get a phone call, but he was okay. I came over, I cleaned as much as I could, and put I said, Dad, no one's ever going to move the nightstand. You're fine.
Come on, Dad, it's no big deal.
Yeah. Jeez.
Just a personal question for me. Do you still have the severed head of Alexis?
Oh yes. So there were two versions of the heads, and they're actually my wife's head, because when we did the full body cast of Alexis, we started to do the head, and she is claustrophobic and had a full blown panic attack before it could even come close to setting. So we had to rip it all off. She was in tears and hysterical for about 30 minutes. And then she calmed down enough that she wanted to try again. And I said, no, there's no way. You haven't started shooting the movie. I'm not going to piss you off. But one of them I think is right there.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, there it is. I didn't see it. Awesome.
It's got the ball gag and everything.
Yeah.
Here.
I see it still has the ball gag.
Yeah.
There it is.
So there were two, because the way that we were shooting the movie, I needed one for a couple of the shots, and then I was able to get another one for close-ups done later. So the hair is totally different in both of them too. This was the impromptu wig that does not match her hair at all.
Yeah.
Not even close. But I needed it for the swinging of the headshot.
Right. Yeah, is that the one that Nancy actually swings?
Yeah, so this is the actual one. There's a hole drilled in the bottom. I don't know if you guys could see it, but
yeah, we see it.
And there was a piece of rope that ran through so that the wig wouldn't come off, and it had actually hit someone in the head. So yeah, this is the actual one that she swings, and I bring this with me to festivals and conventions and stuff.
Awesome. And another thing I loved in the movie is the head.
Yeah, that was a fun scene.
Yeah, you don't really see people getting hit in the head with a severed head very often.
You don't. I did love that too, and I love that battle cry she let out.
Yeah, and that was all her. I mean, I just kind of instructed her to give me a battle cry, and that's what came out. But that scene, that was one of the first scenes that I wrote that I was really happy with the swinging of the head. I knew I had to have in the script. That's a much longer scene. It's not just a swing of an axe and a hit. It was actually originally written as almost a comedically ridiculously long fight scene.
Okay.
Where broke everything in my bedroom. I was willing. I was going to break my 54-inch TV. I'm like, it's for the movie. Someone's the severed head has to go through that TV, and we have to get a shot of it in the TV, and all this stuff. And then, fortunately for me or for my wife, we didn't have time to do any of that. So the only thing that got trashed was the floor, And our bed, there is the shot where Blair swings the axe and it sticks in the bed.
Yeah.
So that whole, in the schedule, I scheduled the most amount of time for that, everything in that bedroom, because it was going to be the fight scene, and I had a fight choreographer that was going to help come over and choreograph that. And that dialogue was so important. It's the reveal of the killer. So I scheduled the most time for that. And so Blair came in from LA, or Kristen came in from LA, who plays Blair. And I think we had 5 days just to shoot all that. We got there. We took our time the first day shooting some stuff. And then at the end of that day, her work called and said that she had to be back at work tomorrow in LA or she was fired.
Oh.
So she had to leave. So we lost the whole next day. And then we were able to convince her boss to let her have one more day off. So instead of 5 days, I had one. She flew in, arrived in Vegas at 10 a.m. and had to be back on a plane at like 8 p.m. or whatever that night.
Wow.
And so we shot all 5 days worth in that tiny window. And which is funny to me, like, because it seems to be unanimously people's favorite part of the movie. And it really works really well. We suffered because we had to cut some things out, but it still fortunately just worked. I mean, luckily it's a lot of my dialogue and I kind of had the script. I memorized to a point, but I also just improv'd because I knew what the character was, what he was going for, and it worked. But it's funny to think that was all a day. So I quickly, as we were running through shots, I forgot I was going to have a whole rig and how that fake axe would be cut around the footboard of my bed because I had a bunch of prop axes. Well, I didn't have time to rig any of that because it was supposed to be 4 days later. So I just took like Sawzall and cut a notch into my bed. And as I was cutting the notch into my bed, someone behind me on the crew was like, "Hey, my wife's name's Jen." She's like, "Is Jen going to be okay with this?" No, of course not. This bed was expensive. But luckily for me, she doesn't get home for like 3 more hours, so she'll never know. And it was like a total scene from a movie because then it was an uncomfortable silence, and I stopped. And I'm like, "She's standing behind me, isn't she?" And she was standing right behind me the whole time. Hey, honey, you decided to come home for lunch. That's so great. I'll fix this.
That's perfect.
That is awesome. There. I love it.
I've not fixed it. There's still a knot that perfectly fits our axe but I did finally replace the carpet.
Okay.
A month ago now, I think it's been. Like, literally, my wife lived with that carpet that was completely cut. It was white carpet, completely covered in.
Fake.
I'll send you a photo when we finish this, just so
I'd love
you
to
can
see
it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then just imagine, like, my wife, the accountant, like, living in this bedroom for a year and 4 months or whatever it was, just stepping over these crusty puddles and giving me this dirty looks. Like, wait, when are you replacing this? Then I would find new things to shoot. I'd be like, well, we'll get yeah, of course. I promised you wood floors, but I got the short film idea. And while there's blood, I might as well shoot it.
Right.
And so,
perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
Finally.
But hey, then, you literally have a notch on your bed now. Like, there's always going to be that's a memory.
Yeah.
That's a memory.
A literal notch. Yes.
You can't put a price tag on memories like that.
No. Yeah, and now that you say it like that, I feel like I need to make another one for part 2.
There you go. You gotta keep. It's become tradition now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Put another notch on the bed for part 2.
Speaking of part 2, sounds like Blaine's gonna be back. I'm curious. We had the pegboard, with all the tools and different tools that he could choose and use to kill his victims with. And I like that. I thought that was kind of cool because so many of your classic killers, I mean, look for a perfect example, your shirt, hatchet, but then also Michael Myers, the kitchen knife or the butcher knife, Freddy, obviously the glove.
I
Jason,
hope you're not going with this question where I think you might be going.
Well, no, I wasn't. If you're talking about the level, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. But are we going to see different weapons, perhaps a different variety? Or is he gonna go with one tried and true, one of his favorites? I'm just kind of curious.
I feel, I mean, even in my initial thoughts, when I made it, I didn't even plan on making a sequel at all. I ended it open-ended just because it's my homage to 80s slasher, so it had to be.
Sure.
I felt like if there was a closed ending, I feel like people would shun me. So, but I didn't really expect anyone to watch it, so I didn't expect to make a second one. But now that I do plan on making it, I feel like that's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to keep that going with the variety of weapons. Although I think it would be too much for him to keep going back to the pegboard.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because the level is there, and I have another friend who every time I see him brings up the level, and
that's actually legitimately one of my next questions was if you could please figure out a way to kill somebody with a level in a future movie.
I think it has to happen. It has to happen.
Awesome.
I'm not exactly sure how yet, but I'll go ahead and give you guys. This is the exclusive. Someone will get killed with a level.
Yes.
Part 2.
Oh, that's
official press releases will go out tomorrow. Yeah.
So then in part 2, are you planning on bringing the Nancy character back? Is she going to be like the Laurie Strode of Pool Party Massacre?
There were I had entertained that idea when I first started kind of outlining it, but a couple factors. One, the biggest factor, it didn't matter what, is that she doesn't really want to be involved with the movie or associated with it at all anymore. She has since gotten married and just gave birth to her first child a month ago, maybe, like very recently, a couple months ago, and so she's now distanced herself. She didn't even want to sign things. Last time I asked her if I could come to her house and get her to sign stuff, she very politely said that she was busy with the baby, but I could just sense that maybe she's thinking that she wants to distance herself from it. So I don't think that's going to happen at all. And I think it might be for the better. I'm in my mindset for a sequel is going more in the direction of like a Slumber Party Massacre 2, where it just is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want it to make slightly more sense. I haven't written a dance number into it or anything like that. But I like the idea of it just not having to worry too much about what happened in the past, and keep and if there is a shift in tone, it's going to go a little wackier than a little more serious.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited to hear that it's in the
works. I'm totally pumped. And if by any chance you want to write in some roles for where you want to kill off 2 cheesy horror movie podcast guys that rip on bad movies, we would happily let you kill us off.
Hey, I might be able to make that work. I plan for the body count to be extremely high in this one, as opposed. I mean, I guess it was still. I think now I forgot. It's been so long since I've had to speak after the movie, but I was like 11 deaths or something like that. So, but which is I guess is a fair amount.
It's a good body count, yeah.
I want it to be like 3 times that amount in the sequel. Awesome. So yeah. We'll have to. I'll definitely. I'll write you guys in somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
but you'll have to fly to Vegas.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going to Vegas.
I'm not sure that the budget will be any higher for the sequel for the first one. So I don't think there is a line item for flights, and so
that's okay. I'm still okay with flying to Vegas.
Yes, at least I'm in Vegas. I mean, it's not too hard to get people to come to Vegas for a weekend, and they can even bring like their significant others and be like, "Hey, I planned a trip to Vegas," and then when you land, be like, "Oh, and by the way, tomorrow I'll be busy for the day. Have fun at the pool."
Yeah,
exactly. So let's see what I was saying. Before I move into some of my final questions here, the traditional ones that we kind of always ask our guests before we wrap up, do you have any tips or advice for other people who are looking to get into the independent, who want to make their own movies? What have you learned, or what's the one piece of advice you would give somebody looking to make their first film?
I mean, the biggest piece of advice is also the most common piece of advice, but I really think it's most important is just to go out and do it. I mean, I work with all these really talented people on set all the time in the commercial side. And these, like I said, these are genuinely really, really talented people. They all got into the film industry because they went to film school because they wanted to make movies, not because they wanted to light corporate events and pharmaceutical commercials. They got into the business because they wanted to make movies, but now they're stuck in a rut, and most of them are afraid to do it because if they do it, they want it to be good. They're so worried about it being good and getting into festivals and winning awards and being in their calling card that that they've just never done it. They've pushed. They all have scripts that they've written in film school that they wish they could make, but they're afraid to actually put them out there. And so to me, that was kind of my like motivation, was these other people. And finally, I'm the least talented out of any of these people. I mean, especially on a set, because I'm a producer. I mean, I'm a manager of sorts,
Yeah.
you know, as what a producer is. Like, I'm not bad at necessarily at doing that, but I can't shoot. I'm not going to shoot and edit and light my movie. It's going to look horrible. So many of my friends can do all of those things. Like there's a guy here in town, his name is Brandon Christensen. He just directed a movie called Stillborn. I don't know if you guys have heard of it yet.
Yeah.
It's about to get released. And he also worked on It Stains the Sands Red with me. But
I have heard. I do know. I have actually heard that one. That's actually in my queue. I have that one lined up. That one I have heard of.
it's a great zombie flick, and you'll see a cameo by Zombie Drew in there too.
Awesome.
So I definitely recommend it. But anyways, like for instance, my friend Brandon, you will see Stillborn. It's coming. It hasn't even been released theatrically yet. It's coming up, but it's already getting a lot of buzz. And so people like him, this is his first low budget movie, and it's this amazing, like, supernatural, beautiful movie. And so there's people like him that can do everything. He can shoot it, edit, light it, record the sound, like literally every aspect of it. And it took him this long to finally go out, do it for a probably similar reason. So I was like, you know what? I'm like a third talented as all of you, but I'm just going to go do it because it doesn't matter. You know, if it sucks, it sucks. I'll learn from it and the next one will be better. Or if it sucks really bad, I just won't show anyone, and I'll still will have learned things, and then I'll keep lying and saying it's my first movie until I get one that's good enough. But at least I'm going out and doing it. So that was kind of what motivated me, and then it worked. And I think no matter how good your movie is, people are gonna hate it.
Yeah.
People are going to wish that you were dead. Like, it's such a comical review, but I mean, people really do say that.
Jeez.
People really do say this movie was so bad, whoever made it should be dead. Like, I read that about other people. I haven't heard it yet about me, but I'm sure someone has said it. We've had some.
I agree. I can't. When we, like I said, if you're actually familiar with our show and you listen, but when we go into like the 5-star reviews and all that, and I look up 5-star and 1-star, I have seen plenty of 1-star reviews that say the people who make this should be dead. They should never make another movie again. What were they thinking? It's all the time. And it's just people love being dicks and trolls on the internet.
You know, keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I think that's like creating a hurdle for some talented people who are afraid to go make their first short film or their first feature film, especially because they're afraid of what people will say, and they don't want to have to deal with that or start off on that foot. Fortunately for me, I have no shame either. So it's like, hell, I'm gonna make it also helps I made a $6,000 slasher film. I didn't make a $6,000 Civil War drama.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
People are forgiving in the horror world and stuff. But yeah, that'd be my advice. Just start making things, and because the more you make, the better you'll get.
Cool.
All right, nextly, is that even a word? Nextly? What are some, you mentioned at the very top of this interview, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 was one of the first. But what are some of your other favorite good horror movies? The ones that, your go-tos, that you personally love?
Oh, good. That's fun. I don't know if any of them are good. Well, it depends on whose standards they are. But I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is definitely one of my favorites. Return of the Living Dead is probably the movie I watch the most, or that I would reference the most as being my favorite movie. Like, it's just the combination of skilled filmmaking and effects and humor.
Right.
It just worked so well for me so that would definitely be one of them. But I watch everything. I'm not a big fan of mean-spirited movies. I mean, that's just not. I don't necessarily want to just watch like someone brutally rape and murder innocent women for an hour and a half. I think that's
like, I spit in your grave type movies.
Yeah, like those. It's just not my thing. Like, and some of them are good. There's probably movies that would make my list of favorite movies that are just such good movies that I can look past those things. But so I mean, all of my favorite movies are going to be campy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that then leads me to my next question, which is basically, what are some of your favorite, what would consider bad horror movies? Something that
I mean, that's our show. Our
I mean,
show
that's
is
what we do.
horrible
Yeah.
horror. I mean, movies so bad they're good. I mean, that's our ranking system, you know. So, what are some so bad they're good?
Well, I mean, like I said, these are movies that I love.
Yeah.
So it's the same way that you would say, you know, that you would feel about some of these movies. But I mean, there's a movie called Shock 'Em Dead. It's it's an '80s like heavy metal horror, written directed by this guy Mark Freed, and that was one of my favorite movies. Still is, but especially when I was in high school, it's just ridiculous. You guys should definitely watch it. It actually has a Blu-ray release now, finally. Nice. But it's like a dorky kid sells his soul to the devil so that he could shred on the guitar.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
not knowing that he would have to like feed on the souls of people to survive once he sold his soul. So it's hilarious, and especially because of the period it's in, it's big hair and like guitar solos and Tracy Lords is in it.
Okay.
So that one stands out for sure for me. But then also for modern films, I think there's a perfect example. There is a Canadian director named Richard Mogg. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's yet to really break into the mainstream. But he's made a handful of films, and I think his average budget is about $150.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so he's able to make some of these movies in a weekend. Like genuinely, he made a movie called Massage Parlor of Death, and it was all just shot in his apartment over with a couple, maybe $150. And same with another movie called Teenage Slumber Party Nightmare, and that was one, like literally they started Friday and I think they wrapped Sunday, like shot the whole feature. And so those movies, as you can imagine, no matter who you are, if you have $150 and 48 hours to shoot a feature, it's never gonna meet the standards of the mainstream audience ever. But he is and he is really talented. Like he is a film school grad. He's knows what he's doing, but also sees the joy and the humor in this. And he's a big fan of like shot on video films from the late 80s and 90s. So he keeps it in that vein, and he makes these movies that, some people would watch 5 minutes of and just turn off and dismiss it as a joke or a mistake. And I am just fascinated by them. Like That's awesome. I made everyone on Pool Party, the entire cast. I have photos of the whole cast sitting at my parents' house. Well, I forced them to watch Teenage Slumber Party Nightmare and Massage Parlor of Death. And then I would just often have them on just in the background. And I think I almost scared some of the girls away because I told them this was my filmmaking hero, and I put the movie on. And they thought, oh my God, this is what he aspires to. But by the end, they all became fans.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely look him up. It sounds awesome. Yeah. Now, we've talked a little bit about Pool Party Massacre 2, and that you're definitely planning on making that up. But what other is that your very next project, or is there something you work on before that you want to...
Anything you want to
plug away, or
I don't have anything to plug that someone could necessarily go see right now, but that people could anticipate that other than Pool Party Massacre 2, I do have an anthology that I'm putting together with a bunch of local Vegas filmmakers. So I'm kind of in the process of getting all that put together. It's a Christmas horror anthology, so cool. I'm hoping to get that out by Christmas. That's the goal. But I've got a lot of other filmmakers involved that I've brought into it. So I'm hoping that we can all get it done. So I'm super excited about that. Like, I had a meeting about that today, and
something you're producing, or are you going to be directing something to that as well?
I'm kind of producing the whole thing. It was my concept, and I'm kind of bringing everyone in. But as far as individual segments, I'm letting everyone they're all local horror filmmakers, so I trust them and let them do whatever they want. I love when an anthology is a little bit can be across the board. Yeah. When it can be. This is the kind where it doesn't have a through line. It can be more like an ABCs of Death in that sense, but all Christmas. And my intention was to write and direct one of the segments myself, but then my wife asked me last night while we were sitting on the couch if she could write and direct one.
Oh, cool.
And which she's never expressed any interest in doing anything of the sort before. And I am fascinated with the idea, and I also just love my wife tremendously, and I've put her through so much, so that my immediate answer was, "Fuck yeah, of course you can."
Awesome.
So, but if she does,
get her a Christmas present now too. I say that's your
yeah,
Christmas present.
Yeah.
yeah, or it'll be like the first like item cited in our divorce. But yeah, so if she's really genuinely wants to, then she'll get my spot, because I already have all the other filmmakers in mind, so I don't want to take someone else away so that the both of us can have one. So we'll have to see, or maybe she'll let me collaborate with her. I don't know. So
that's really cool. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I'll be definitely looking forward to whenever that comes out.
I'm excited. Really excited about that. And then I have a couple other scripts that one of them I wanted to shoot last year and it never happened. So maybe if I can get it done this year. And then I'm meeting Lloyd Kaufman from Troma's in Vegas this week.
On.
And so I'm hosting the premiere of Nukem High Volume 2, the Vegas premiere, Friday night, and moderating the Q&A with Lloyd. So I keep using these times when I hang out with Lloyd to badger him and remind him that one of my bucket list goals is to make a Troma movie. So,
awesome.
I'm hoping to write a script that I can give to Lloyd and get his blessing and actually make a Troma movie sometime in the next year or so.
Very cool, very cool. Now, I noticed, been noticing, would these happen to be on your left there? Would those happen to be the special VHS copies of the Pool Party Massacre?
These, yes.
Booyah. Oh, you got the clamshell.
Yeah,
yes.
That's awesome.
Dun, dun, dun. Limited edition. Well, we've done a bunch of editions now. This was our Pee in the Pool Yellow edition.
Nice.
Yeah, we've done. I had to have VHS in the clamshell just because, for nostalgic reasons, and so I could have one on my shelf was really the reason, and the art just lends itself to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I got the original batch of, I think it was 20 made on just black cassettes in the clamshell, and I thought to myself, okay, I get to keep one. I'll send one to Brian, and then I'll sell a couple online, and I'll give some to some friends, and I don't know, I'll probably have 10 for the rest of my life, but it's worth it, so I can have one. And then they sold out in minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. When I checked out the website, they said you were sold out of the VHS ones.
And it's been continuous. So that was the first batch of whatever it was, 21, I think, or 20. And then, so I wanted to make more, but I called them limited edition, and I think I even said there's only 20 of them. So I'm like, crap, I can't make more black ones because I already announced there's only.
Right.
So I'm like, I guess I have to find another color. So I talked to my guy, Elijah at Magnetic Magic Rentals, who does all the dubbing and packaging and stuff for me. And he's like, oh, well, I have some white ones. I'm like, oh, rad. We'll do it. Let's do an edition on white. So we did another edition on white that was about the same number, sold out in minutes again. And I had conventions coming up that I couldn't even have them at because I thought that I would once again sell one or two. And
sure.
So now it's been an ongoing thing. We're on like the 7th. So there's a black edition, a white edition. We did the Pee in the Pool Yellow, which is our biggest. It's like 50 of those, and they sold out in an hour. There's a really limited purple one. There was only 5 of.
Oh, geez.
There's like a teal green that was special for this VHS swap in LA. And now we're about to release. I'll probably announce it tomorrow on February 1st. We're announcing a blood red cassette for Valentine's Day.
Oh, cool.
So there's about, I think, 20 something of those too.
Very cool.
And hopefully, I mean, I keep thinking no one will buy them. I keep thinking, everyone in the world that would possibly want a copy of this on VHS has one, but then they keep selling out.
It's hot, man. It's hot. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it seemed like, I always look at my Instagram just of people who are into horror and, who are big VHS collectors or Blu-ray collectors, just people who are way into indie horror, and it's hot. It was, when it came out, it was all over the place.
Yeah, it's which I don't get. but, I mean, I love it, and it's amazing, and I appreciate it so much. But I didn't expect it at all. So it's still so weird to me. But it's also great that people kind of get it. Like they get what I was trying to do. They get the homage. They get how it's a love letter, and how some of the things are intentionally bad, but then there's certainly things that weren't intentionally bad. But they just kind of get what I was trying to do, and it's nice to know there's that many like-minded people that are also out there in in the horror world.
Well,
So that
we loved it, and thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, and I think we're probably gonna wrap it up here, but please stay with us after we end the interview, and we'll chat a little bit more after that. But for now, I think for the actual interview part, we're gonna wrap it up here, Moon Goons. Again, thank you for listening. And definitely, if you haven't already, please, do yourself a favor, check out Pool Party Massacre. It's so much fun to watch. It's
fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
And Pool Party Massacre 2, hopefully a year or two, maybe. Look for it. That'd be awesome. Again, Drew, officially, thank you again very much for taking the time to talk with us, and it was a lot of fun. This was a great pleasure for us to do that. Aaron, any closing words for yourself?
No.
No.
I'm good.
Words.
Few words. There we go. No, I'm good. Thanks again, man.
All right. Then,
no, thank you.
All right, Moon Goons. Remember, watch more horror movies, and for always remember to keep it tight, all.